Hello, my name is Vince Johnson. I'm here with Nuevotec,
I'm Danny Casrell, and I'm here with Nuevotec.
and we're here to interview Jumatatu Poe and a few of his cast members from Flatland. So can you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name's Shannon Murphy. I'm the Director of Creative Development for Idiosyncrazy Productions.
I'm Shavon Norris, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement.
And I'm Jumatatu Poe. I'm the Artistic Director of Idiosyncrazy Productions.
And can you guys give us a little bit of information on what Flatland 2010 is?
Sure. Flatland 2010, it's a dance theater piece, and it's a piece that goes all over and across and through the audience and through the performers. I like to think that it's very engaging, and it's an experience. I think that to put the label of dance theater on it is a little bit limiting, but it works. It gives you an idea of what we're doing, but we do more than dance. We howl. You want to add anything?
No, I think that was perfect.
There was certainly a lot of howling going on during the performance.
So Vince, as you were mentioning, you felt that it was an experience. Can you just discuss a little bit what type of experience that you were trying to create with the piece?
The piece, Flatland, was inspired by lots of different stimuli. There's a book called Flatland that deals with, it's kind of a historical commentary on Victorian culture that deals with gender dynamics, the performance of gender, class, different class issues, a lot of things that are relevant in our society and specifically in our urban environment that I was interested in addressing. And also I was obsessed with this idea about how so much of our experience, our human experience today, has to do with living on these flat screens. And I was wondering what happens when you take this three-dimensional person, this three-dimensional whole, and squish that into a flat figure, into flatness, which, a lot of times we're required to do, putting labels on ourselves, giving sound bites, especially like we've been thinking about that for our webpage, all of these things that, they're useful because they are succinct. They provide information without being totally expansive because there's only so much time in the day, but also they're limiting. And so I was curious about that how those things brush up against one another.
Could you guys maybe as performers, because Juma, sometimes you perform in your own work, you weren't in this piece.
Yes.
You two, however, were wonderful, and if you guys could maybe talk a little bit on your experience in the show, and then maybe later we'll talk about your experience in the creative process. So.
Sure. While being just in the piece a moment ago, there's so much of it that just comes from it being in your body. We learn the characters and the presence via modes, these rules that direct and limit also the way that you move, and sometimes just being in them carries you into a completely new place. I found that for myself a lot this evening, actually, just actually feeling my muscles and body really, really in a new territory and experiencing the piece through a completely different lens. I didn't feel like I was experiencing it as Shannon Murphy, but really as this character wearing red hot pants bouncing around. So
You wore them well.
thank you. Shavon?
I have a different experience. I feel like I still stay a little Shavon. I feel like there's parts of my character that are very Shavon-like, so I never feel like Shavon goes away. So I'm always having a conversation about who is pushing to the front, who's pushing to the skin, who's pushing to the movement, and I actually enjoy that conversation between my character and who I am as a human being. I actually enjoy that in Flatland. Like the person that gets exhausted is Shavon. The person who is thrown about is Shavon. So I have that natural conversation between the character and my physical self in the piece.
And I think that conversation is key. It's a key component of what we're after in Flatland. Thinking about responsiveness, how we are responsive to ourselves, our bodies, how that reflects what's going on stage, and then how we take that into the environment around us, including the people that we interact with, including the walls and the floor and the air around us, including climbing over the audience chairs and the rails in the space. how all of that affects the performance and keeps it live, it keeps it living.
So you just brought up a good point about interacting with the audience, and I know you also, when you were creating the piece, you had talkbacks and you recorded audience members and things. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a little more about the role of the audience in the piece, because the audience really was a character or a part of the piece more so than a lot of other performances that you see.
Sure. We have, we're very interested with Idiosyncrazy Productions in community interaction, community engagement, and I think that audience engagement is one part of that we're interested in exploring. Also, these communities that we represent, that we symbolize, that we interact with, and how that's shown on stage. The way that we developed this process, and that's been a lot of back and forth amongst the three of us, thinking about how we're going to communicate, what's important for us to gauge from an audience, and how we're going to give back to that. And I don't know, Shavon, if you have anything more to say about that.
Jumatatu was really focused on having audience members be present when we did our runs, because you can't really get the full feeling of what it's like to do the audience sections or perform in front of these people doing, you know, the nasty girls do crazy faces and the ooh, they make themselves really vulnerable. And what is that really like when you have an audience? And I think that goes back to one of our philosophies, that we're not making art or dance or movement in vacuums, but they exist at a specific time for specific people, and we want to engage and interact with the audience and not just pretend that they might be there, but actually have them there and have them respond and communicate to us what they're feeling, what they're thinking, how it made them feel, so that we can be informed. We're not just going to make work and then present it and see what people think, but we want to actually have some feedback as we go.
So yeah, communication, technology, social media, all of those things seem to be at the root of this piece. And I'm just curious to know what type of research or even what type of inspiration you had for these themes.
What type of inspiration? Thank you. Lots of different things. One of my favorite things to do is to watch people. I feel like in my work, in my performance work, my dance theater work, you know, I'm interested in how people are a part of that, how people are seen and represented, and how we also depart from being human and we become other things, but how we can't escape from that. We can't escape from the fact that we are ourselves and we carry that foundation with us wherever we go, whatever territory we venture into. So a lot of the research for this had to do with watching people interact, watching people truncate themselves, how that happens. You know, like finishing a sentence that you can't quite figure out how to put it, so you say something quickly because you know that the other person is getting a little bit tired of talking to you. Or, you know, referring back to a conversation that's no longer relevant, maybe, but that you are persistently identified with by a lover or, you know, a friend or an enemy, or, you know, the way that pieces of us become representations of us. It was majorly influential.
I think Jumatatu's living is his research into technology, because if you go walk past his Mac, there are 15 screens up at one time. There's a movie happening. There's a dance class video that he's watching. He's listening to a song, and he's watching X-Files at the same time, and is responding to 5 different emails, and then he's sending a text. Last night, we It is. We were all in the same car last night, and he sent us a text while we were in the same car. So I think that, you know, my life doesn't look like that, so I think there's, right, exactly. So the research, I really do believe that the research, you know, it is him watching, but it is a reflection of his living. I don't live like that. Like, my experience is different, so my piece about technology might be a little different. But his looks like his computer screen.
So there were parts of the piece where the audience was laughing or chuckling. Wondering, were you intending for those parts to be humorous, or was that just, that's how it ended up being?
There I feel like there are consistently parts where we're surprised at audience reactions. Generally, the women's trio usually makes the audience laugh. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it doesn't. But generally, that is perceived in that way. But other than that, there's such a vast range of reactions that it's really hard to expect, because the performance is so different each time. You know, because it really depends on what's happening that day, in that place, in that moment, with those people in the audience. You know, it really shifts each time based on those things.
Can I add to that?
You want my mic for that? No, I'm joking.
Add to that. Also, it feels like the audience members are really a part of the world we're living inside of, and not just the moments where we jump up onto stage and are talking to them and are, you know, super in their face and trying to get them to respond in a really quick, chaotic sense. Also, when we're completely far away, all the way to the back of the stage or way up above them, they're tuning into different sections, and their response is constantly in my feedback loop of what's happening and who I'm engaging with. Often on stage, even though I'm not maybe pulling a lot of attention, I'm still making eye contact with people and connecting with them on moments where my character is very quiet. And so, you know, when I hear, when I hear responses from people that I'm watching the same thing and I have a completely different response while I'm a witness on stage is really interesting. There's already another layer that's added on top of all those different things happening at one time, and all those different personalities and all those different experiences in one room.
So you had a wonderful turnout this evening, Juma, and I've attended a number of your performances, and I've always enjoyed myself, and it seems like everyone coming back out into the lobby after performance was very happy. So I'm curious to know, where can we find more of your work in the future? Where can we come see Idiosyncrazy productions? I'll even say, I've taken classes with you guys, and they're really a lot of fun. So they're free generally. So let's do some plugs. Let's tell the people how we can stay connected. You know.
I think the best way is through our webpage, which is www.idiosyncrazy.org, idiosyncrazy.org. Or you can find us on Facebook. If you search for Idiosyncrazy Productions, then you'll find our page on Facebook, and we post a lot of stuff there. We have some shows coming up. You can check out our upcoming events calendar, and stay tuned for more work that we produce that's not just my choreography. We're going to become a vessel for lots of different other performers' choreography, but what is essential to what we do is the essence of that performance, that real in-the-moment quality, and that multitasking that we talked about before a little bit earlier. So stay tuned. We're gonna keep coming strong. And if you're interested in bringing us to your venue, please contact us. info@idiosyncrazy.org.
Nice.
It'll be worth your while.
All right, just sign out.
All
Hey,
right.
this is, squeeze back together, please.
All right, I'm Vince, this is Denny, and we're here with Idiosyncrazy Productions. We just saw Flatland 2010, and we're signing out for Nuevotec. Stay tuned. Keep watching.